Hiro Kaio returned to his filthy apartment late on a Friday night. He had stopped by his local ramen restaurant for dinner after downing a few beers after work. The owner had grown angry with him for being critical about the noodles' broth, which Hiro claimed smelled like a wet dog, and its taste rotten and repulsive. For years the ramen was delicious, yet tonight it was disgusting. And after Hiro let the owner know, he was thrown out into the street in a fit of rage. He threw his bag to one side as he shuffled into his dark apartment. He grabbed a bottle of whiskey from the kitchen and then slumped down at the small table in the center of the room. He took a swig and then flicked on the television, looking for some further distraction to take his mind off the events earlier. It played on his mind though. What the hell was wrong with the ramen? And what was wrong with the owner? Their relationship had been fine up until this point. He wouldn't consider them friends. However, he thought he shared a closer bond with the owner than most people in his life. His anger peaking, he threw the bottle at the wall as he swore loudly, and then he sat in silence as he watched the whiskey run out over the floor. He swore again at the damage and the waste and stood up to get a cloth to mop it up. As he moved forward, something caught his eye. It looked like a string of beads wrapped around a cloth bundle. He removed it from the hole in the wall and studied it closely. What the hell was this? It suddenly shifted in his hands, and in shock he dropped it and slid his foot into the broken glass at his feet. Cursing loudly, he watched the bundle, now completely still, and a large pool of his blood began to form beneath him. He awkwardly stepped away to tend to his foot. He sat down at the edge of his bathroom and picked the glass out, and then tied a small towel around it, furious at his own stupidity. And then a crack from the other room rang out, and he quickly turned his head towards the sound. The only light coming from that room was the flickering glow of the television, and there was nothing else to give away what could have made that sound. Cautiously, he crawled towards the room, desperately trying to convince himself that it must have been something that fell from a bookshelf or his small table in his over-cluttered, filthy apartment. He reached up to the light switch and flicked it on, and then scanned the room, his eyes darting everywhere, or settling on the one thing in the room which should not have been that way. The small bundle was spread wide open. The chain of beads snapped, and whatever was in there was gone. A small bark rang out, and the light above the room popped loudly and burned out. Once again, the room was only lit by the ambient flicker of the television. Hiro froze in terror as he continued to scan the room, trying to rapidly adjust his eyes to the darkness again. And then he saw it. A dark little cat-like creature with two tails. It had lifted itself up onto the table, and it sat and stared at him. Hiro stared back. And then it barked again. Hiro screamed, "Ah!" And the creature screamed, and they continued in unison until they both ran out of breath and settled back into silence. The creature then smiled at Hiro, picked up a peanut, and proceeded to gnaw away at it, quite happily. This thing seemed fairly tame and hungry, which gave Hiro an idea. He threw on his jacket and scooped it into his pocket along with some more nuts. And then he stepped out into the night. He was soon back at the ramen shop, which was only dimly lit by this time. It had closed for the evening, which didn't ruin Hiro's scheme completely. He planned to let this thing loose in the kitchen so that some customers might see it and get the place shut down for a health violation. This would teach the old fogey for kicking him out. Since he couldn't get in through the front, he ventured around the back in the hopes that he could slip the creature through an open window, or as a last resort, through forcing the door open. Once around the back, he stopped suddenly as he realized the owner was still there. The light was on, and there was movement and chatter inside. He approached cautiously, not wanting to give himself away. He peered in through a break in the blind, and what he saw made his heart stop. The old man was playing mahjong with huge, greasy, humanoid cockroaches. Hiro was stunned. He must be dreaming, he thought. His plan to hit this man with a health violation had manifested in his mind to something so over the top, it defied reality. Then a chill shook him as he noticed there were only 3 players seated, when it was clearly set up for 4. A hard, hairy, stick-like arm forced him forward into the room, sending him stumbling and crashing onto the floor of where the roaches and the old man sat. The roach that had pushed him inside then spoke.
"Found this lowlife creeping around outside. Wonderful that the evening meal has delivered itself to us. Ha! And his bones will become a welcome addition to the broth,"
another said. The 3 roaches began to close in on him. One came at him from behind and sniffed the side of his face, its large, clammy mandibles dripping some disgusting fluid.
"He smells like he hasn't washed in weeks,"
it exclaimed. The eyes of the others lit up.
"Delicious,"
they said in unison as they began to tear at his clothes. As his jacket pocket ripped open, the little creature rolled out and sat on the floor, staring at them. The roaches mirrored this and were somewhat stunned at what they were looking at, not too sure what to make of it before their instincts kicked in and realized it was more flesh for them to tear into. The creature then read this behavior perfectly. Its calm, docile demeanor suddenly changed to that of a fierce beast. Within the blink of an eye, it pounced to the throat of the nearest roach, tearing its head off, and then bounced across the other 2, doing the exact same thing. Black ooze rained over the room as the 3 large exoskeletons fell lifeless to the floor, followed by their filthy, drooling heads. The little creature then returned to its previously calm state, and happily gnawed away at one of the roach's legs. The old man looked up at Hiro and thanked him. He admitted that he had given up caring long ago and let his restaurant fester. The roaches had taken advantage of this, and from that point, it was a downward spiral from which he could not recover. Hiro could relate to what the old man had said, and now felt somewhat better armed to fight his own inner demons.